Welcome everyone to our workshop today on augmented communication. My name is Emily Lebu and I am a Family and Community Engagement Liaison. Here at Family and Community Engagement, or FACE, our mission is to partner with students, families, and staff to support students' specialized academic, social, and emotional needs to promote self-determination, equitable opportunities, and authentic inclusion. Hey, I'd just like to give a few tips on the webinar. This webinar will be recorded. All participants' microphones and cameras have been disabled. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We will be happy to get to those. Messaging between participants has been limited, but it does offer contact between the panelists and the hosts. Also, webinars cannot guarantee a confidential environment. So please, when you are putting those questions in, do not use identifiable or specific information about your family or your student. If you do require additional assistance, please let me know through the chat. Closed captioning is activated and a recording of this webinar will be uploaded within 1 week. We appreciate you guys coming. I would like to introduce our presenter today. Her name is Kim White. She's an assistive technology specialist here at the district, and she has lots of great information for us. So I would love to hand it off to Kim.
Thank you so much, Emily. Yes, this is my 7th year as an assistive technology specialist, and I worked as a special education teacher for the district for 25 years prior. So it's kind of nice. I have a lot of background that I can bring to this position. And I wanted to share some of those ideas with you today. Let me go back 1 second. Sorry. Here is my tiny URL. If you would like access to this presentation, feel free to take a picture of it, copy that down, or you can follow along with me as well. I'll leave that up for just a second. Right, here's just some information about me. And we're going to start off with just what exactly is assistive technology. The official definition is that it refers to any product, device, or equipment, whether acquired commercially, modified, or customized, that is used to maintain, increase, or improve the functional capabilities of individuals with disability. So any tools that can help them achieve progress on those IEP goals and objectives. I want to be very clear too, that doesn't just mean a computer or an iPad. I have students that maybe just the visual. I have one student that as long as I refer to him as the king, all was well, but he had his visual cues as to which behaviors he was working on so that he could have success in the classroom. Sometimes something as simple as a visual schedule might be considered assistive technology as well. This is something that should be discussed at every IEP. It's a little bitty box on page 2 of the IEP where staff members check yes or no whether the student requires it. But again, it's something that should be discussed at every IEP meeting. And then how do we determine, well, do they really need some access to assistive technology? Typically, those students that are not making progress on IEP goals and objectives, either their case manager or a service provider will reach out to myself or one of my other coworkers, or they can also complete a facilitator request form. And I'll show you what this looks like here. So this is simply submitted. It gives the students current information, the building they're located in, what supports have been put in place, the platform that the school district uses currently. So whether they have iPads, whether they have Chromebooks, whether they have laptops, what other providers are providing support for that student, and then the areas of concern. Where do they want us to focus in looking at assistive technology? If they click academic achievement, it's going to break down those skills a little bit, and the staff member can choose which ones are appropriate for that student. This then is submitted to our district secretary, and she lets us know, hey, there's a student that needs some support. The next step in that process is that we schedule a team meeting And we use what's called the SET process. And SET stands for student, environment, tasks, and tools. So we kind of break it down. We first start with the student. We discuss their strengths, any barriers that they're having, and then what specific features they need to help make progress. We also talk about the things that they like and they don't like, and those really come into play, especially if we're trying to teach new tools or provide new types of support. If you're learning something new, that takes a lot of energy in itself. And so we want to make sure that the task that we're asking to do to learn that new tool is something that they enjoy, that's going to be, that they're going to have success with. So we really want to focus on those strengths as well as those interests. Then we take a look at the environment that the student is currently in. Are they typically in the general education environment for the majority of the day? Are they in special ed the majority of the day? Do they have para support if they go in and out of different environments? Are they receiving one-on-one, small group, or large group instruction? And then we look at the types of tasks that are asked of them throughout that school day. And these can change, especially for our middle and high school students, where maybe they're taking different classes first semester versus second semester. Or they start a new unit and it requires completely different skills than what they had been working on previously. So are they doing kind of a writer's workshop? Are there lots of worksheets? Are there hands-on activities? Are they having to do a lot of note-taking? What is required of them? And then we look to see, okay, based on those tasks, what are some tools or what are some features that are needed so that they can make progress on those tasks in their classrooms? So typically we start with what's already available in that school environment. COVID was a lousy thing. However, it did provide many of the school districts with the opportunity to provide one-on-one devices for students, which has been incredible. So all students have access to the materials. Things that are available, apps that are available on an iPad may not have something really equivalent on a Chromebook. And so we want to look and see what's already currently being used in those classrooms and find ways that we can help support them within that system that they are already using so that they don't have to learn something completely different or something that may not be compatible with what their teachers are sending out as far as assignments. And then our textbook companies have done a much better job of providing their text in a digital format or an auditory version for students. And libraries have also beefed up what's available in a digital or auditory format as well. Step 3 is that we want to make sure that we provide the training and support for both the staff and the student. And so typically I would train the staff members that are working with the student. Having said that, there are some occasions I train the student directly, or I work with the student and the team together to help implement whatever tools we're putting in place. For my middle and high school students, a lot of times they don't even have their case manager as one of the teachers in the classes that they are in. And so I find it's really helpful for me to train those students directly on some tools. And you also get a little buy-in, or you find out, nope, I'm not using that tool. And you need to find something different that's going to help them. So we want to make sure that the plan for implementation is very clear also. If we're trying something new and it's going to take some time for the student to learn that tool or program, we want to give them that safe space where they can take the time and really learn and be effective in using it. So maybe we just start with that tool in the special ed environment, or if it's something like a schedule, maybe that's something that we're going to have that student carry around with them in all the environments. We just want to make sure that that's clear to everyone on the team, what the plan is as far as implementation. Typically, when we choose a tool that we're going to implement, we target an IEP goal. So these are all tied to IEP goals. Teachers are taking data on those goals. And we usually set a time frame of about 6 to 8 weeks to trial something new. After that time, we take a look and see, is this tool helping them make progress? Do we maybe need to make some changes or just tweak a few things so that they can be successful? Or sometimes, maybe there was Thanksgiving break right smack in the middle of that trial period, and we want to give them a little more time to get to know the tool and be successful. The nice thing about assistive technology is it's a very fluid process. As I said, as tasks change for students, they may require different tools. And so this isn't like, this is what you get and this is it. It's a constant fluid process. And we're, following up with the staff members as well as the student to make sure that these things are still working and still meeting their needs. Anything that we put in place, we want to make sure that we document in the IEP. So as I said, there's that little checkbox on page 2 of the IEP that the staff members can say, yes, the student requires assistive technology. Then they can also list either in the present level, the names of the features that the student needs. We typically don't list names of programs because honestly, technology is constantly changing and improving. And so one tool that may have worked, wow, that was absolutely fabulous, but something even better comes along. We're more interested in making sure that they have the features that they need. So that's what we list in the IEP. They can also be listed in the accommodations. If I'm requested to come in to help support the team and making choices about tools and what would be most helpful for the student, then I am listed as a support for school personnel. So those teachers have the opportunity to reach out to me anytime. They can do that even if I'm not on the IEP. If they have questions, I'm happy to do that. And we just want to make sure those things are documented. So as students move from school to school, from case manager to case manager, or even district to district, that others are aware of what has been successful or maybe even what has not worked well for a student, so that we're not reinventing the wheel each time that they make a transition. All right, so what exactly are some of those tools or strategies? Some students really benefit from colored film overlays. Typically blue and yellow seem to be the most effective. Some of these are kiddos that have vision needs, but others, it just kind of helps them focus, especially when there's a lot of text on a page. So reading windows or highlighting tape work effectively as well. So I'm going to hold these up. I'm hoping you can see these. This is just, it has a thicker line at the top that the students can follow along on their page. Again, getting their eyes to focus. This one is called the Reading Helper, and it has just a little strip with a highlighted section in the middle. So again, the students are able to focus, especially when there are large pages of text that they need to read. We have a couple different reading pens that we check out. Some, typically the C pen, that's what this is. The C pen it almost works like a highlighter. So they run the pen over the text and it reads it to them. So this is for print-based materials. So they're reading that. It can also send the text to a computer as well. This is something that assistive technology specialists sometimes recommend for students. So it's something that we provide for those individual students. The Pen Friend is another option. And this is something that staff members as well as parents can check out in our IRC. This one has little stickers that go with it, and you can record either a text from a book, you can record directions. So maybe there's a task box or there's a station where there are certain things that the student needs to complete. The nice thing is the teacher can record those directions on the sticker and the student simply touches it with the pen and it reads those things for them. So great, lots of uses for this. I've had students do presentations if they had like a living museum type situation and they had to keep giving a speech over and over again. I had a student record their main points that they wanted to share, and they were the hit of the presentation because everyone wanted to see the cool pen. So lots of different ways that this can be used. Providing those visual cues, honestly, pairing any of those modalities, when they can see it, they can hear it, there's something they can manipulate. Again, that gives them more information to be able to piece together what they need to learn. There are some weighted fonts that are also helpful when students are trying to decode text. Open Dyslexic is a font that weights, like I said, especially those B's, D's, P's, and Q's that look very similar. That sometimes students often reverse or just struggle with identifying the letters. That helps them greatly. Comic Sans is another one. Dyslexia Friendly is actually an extension. It provides the Open Dyslexic font. Whatever web page you're on, it will change all the text on that page to Open Dyslexic. It also provides the spacing between words. So you'll notice on this page, my words are very, have lots of spaces in between and more space in between the lines of text, and it will do that for them. Color coding some text or highlighting some words, very important. There's highlighting tape that you can use. Wiki sticks. This is another great, and you can buy these at craft stores actually. They come in a package like this. They have one little sticky piece. This is great for following along in a line of a book, you know, using it as a line reader also, but you can also highlight it. They bend, you can make letters with them, lots of uses. But if there are some things that you specifically want to target, or maybe even a picture that you want them to, oh, hey, this will give you a clue as to what this word is. These are great things to use. Reducing the amount of text on a page. Again, that can be very overwhelming to see a whole lot of text. And when you're struggling to decode a lot of those words, it can become very overwhelming. So just reducing the amount, having more pages, but having those tucked underneath, great strategy to use. There are some websites that provide symbol supported text. So the Sherlock Center for Disabilities. And if you connected to my presentation, all of these are live links, so you'll be able to go right to those websites to see what they offer. As far as symbol supported text, there's been some research. We were all excited when, you know, we had the technology to be able to picturize everything, which is fabulous. But then we realized, oh gosh, it's almost like making kids learn two different languages. They have to figure out what the pictures are, and then, oh yeah, here are these words that they don't know either. And so they found that, you know what, we really need to be careful about what we symbolate. That we want to make sure that we're not symbolating those high frequency words, sight words that they already know, words like the and a. Those are very abstract. And probably if all of us would look at the same picture, we would come up with a different word that we think that picture stands for. So sometimes it almost makes it harder. If a student is working on their decoding and reading skills, then we should not be symbolating any of that text, because we want them to focus on the instruction and learning how to decode those unknown words. If their focus is comprehension, we want to check to see, are they understanding what's being read, then symbolating what we call those fringe words. So those vocabulary words that may be new to them, that don't follow those decoding rules very well, or maybe some science or social studies vocabulary. Those would be great words to symbolate. And all of these programs listed on here do that. All right, so we have lots of digitally based content now that the students all have access to some type of device. Text to speech means that the computer reads the text to you. And so there are some nice features built into both iPads, Chromebooks, and laptops where you can adjust the voice, you can adjust the rate, the pitch. So it's, you know, very appropriate for the student that's listening. HelperBird it has a free version it's an extension, and it provides that. And you will see there are some other great tools that it provides as well. And it also has a pro version, which you would have to pay for. In my presentation, the things that are read are things that either my department provides for individual students, or that is something that has to be paid for. Unfortunately, the theme seems to be, now that COVID has ended, really wonderful programs and tools that we had access to for free previously now are starting to charge, or they do a monthly fee or have some kind of in-app purchase. So my list kind of gets a little shorter as far as the free things, but I did want to kind of break down, here are some of the tools that are available for each of these accommodations. So increasing the space between words and lines, HelperBird Pro, and then I mentioned previously the dyslexia friendly extension as well. Changing those background colors, like I said, those were all things that are built into many of those devices now. You have the option also to simplify the page and reduce some of the clutter. So if kids go to websites like Wikipedia, oh my, there is so much text and so many numbers and so many different website links that it's very difficult for them to focus on the text that they need to read. And so there are some things that will help them do that. And then there are a lot of sites that offer books in a digital format. So Epic is one. A lot of schools and teachers are using this. It was free for everyone previously, and now they stop allowing students to access it for free at 3 o'clock. And so families can sign up to get their own memberships if they like, but it is free for the students during school time. Tumble Books, some districts have subscriptions to this site, but it's also built in. I believe it's Charter actually has access to this as well. Project Gutenberg has tons of stories at all different levels, and even provide different activities and things that the students can interact with. Storytime from Space is one of my favorites. This is astronauts on the space station actually read books to the students while they're on the space station. So their hair is standing up, things are floating around. Some days they might have a little message on their site, hey, we're a little busy today. But it's a very cool thing. So if you have any students that are interested in space or astronauts, that's a great site to go to. Storyline Online is another one of my favorites. Actors read the stories to the students, so they're turning the pages and they're reading, but they're using great voices and get the kids really excited about the books. And they have a very nice library of books that is expanding as well. Tar Heel Reader is kind of a library of books that teachers, students, you name it, anybody can create a book on Tar Heel Reader. So my caution there is to make sure that you read the book through first before you present it to a student or your child. The reason is that some students, like as I said, have created books, so the grammar may not be absolutely perfect, or they may not have capital letters or ending punctuation, things like that. So just kind of preview those before you read them, but they are a great resource. You can also have communication symbols on there if students use all comm devices, and there are different ways that you can also access the books as well. So all of those kind of other options for you. ShmoopTube is quite hilarious. It's kind of in the vein of Monty Python. They take like A Midsummer's Night's Dream and do these funny videos, kind of giving the gist of what the book is really about. So it kind of breaks it down and makes it a little more concrete for some of our readers. Sora is a somewhat newer resource for some people. It is schools can set up kind of a specific library for their students to be able to access, and it has some access to digital and auditory books as well. And the city and county library also has really beefed up their options, and students can access those through the Libby app. We have Bookshare and Learning Ally, our digital libraries that we provide our students access through. Typically, those students will complete what's called the PAR assessment to see if they meet criteria for this. So basically what we're doing is the students read text and answer some questions. I might read some text to them, they answer questions, and then the computer reads text to them and they answer some comprehension questions. And we look to see, is there a discrepancy between when they read it, how they score on comprehension versus having something read to them. If there is that discrepancy, then we would provide them access to those two libraries. All right, so Snap and Read is a tool. It's a text-to-speech tool that's available to all of our students and staff. This year, we have a district-wide license. And so it brings up a little toolbar. It's an extension that's added for Chromebooks. It is an app for iPads, and students have access to a toolbar where they can read text. It will also level some text for them, which means that you click the leveling tool, and then it will change some of the vocabulary that's introduced in the story and make it a little more concrete. Students can also double click on a word and it will give the definition, which can also be read for them. And then it has a great opportunity to do some note taking as well. Or they can just highlight text, it will cite it for them and kind of keep an outline of all the material that they've saved. So again, it's great for citing evidence if they have to read a passage and look for some evidence to back up some of their arguments. If they're beginning that note-taking stage, this is great if they have to research certain topics and they can, find some key facts that they need to save. And then also too, you can organize it so they can have maybe a KWL chart and they have to find things that match, or just even having them locate key words that you want them to find. It can highlight and bring those over as well. So lots of different ways. It does translate into many languages, both from those other languages to English and then English to the other languages that are available. All right, so I have attached, we have a Google site that we created during COVID because we wanted parents and all staff members, as well as students, to be able to access some of the helpful videos of how to use Snap and Read. There are videos on there showing you how to use them in both the Chrome and the iPad. And so please check those out. All right, we're going to move on to Emergent Writing. We have some simple supported word processors. So again, where they can have some picture prompts to help them choose the words that they need to make sentences. When I say emergent writers, I'm talking about those kiddos that are still kind of learning what they need to make a sentence. And so some of these programs like Clicker, CoWriter, and Boardmaker can kind of provide some of those supports for them. Clicker, I really like a lot just because it breaks down kind of the supports that they need. And I'm going to show you some examples of that here in a few minutes. CoWriter has just kind of a word bank with pictures on it. And so students still have to kind of work really hard to figure out how to make that sentence. And then Boardmaker provides a lot of templates and options to help them with their writing as well. You can color code parts of speech or parts of sentences. With my beginning writers in my classroom, I had some green words, yellow words, red words, and they knew they had to have a green, a yellow, and red, and everybody would say, and then you need your period, just so that they get that idea of this is what you need to make a sentence. So color coding helps very well. Some students with augmentative communication devices, there are different color coding systems that they use, maybe for nouns, for verbs, for adjectives. And so if they are currently using that on their communication system, it would be beneficial to see those same supports in their writing as well. Sentence sequencing cards. So I have some little snowmen here with words on them, just, even just manipulating and figuring out how that sentence needs to be put together, what order it needs to come in. Some kids do very well with manipulating things, putting Velcro on, getting the feedback of tearing those things off and putting them on can be very beneficial for some students as well. And then we have some programs available to make those sentences online. So Bitsboard is an app that can be used on the iPad. And again, they can kind of drag and drop the words to make their sentences. Clicker provides some word banks for them to be able to do that. You can also use Google Slides or PowerPoint is a great option for creating that drop and drag as well. And then scaffolding the amount of text required. So just kind of, building that support. We're not starting out with 5-sentence paragraphs when we're just learning to write. We want to make sure, hey, we're going to start out with those 3-letter words, and then, oh, wow, we might add an adjective in there, and really building those supports very gradually and making sure the student has success. Graphic organizers. There is a website that provides teacher materials, and they are adorable and they are fun. And, you can get them with any theme or any unit that you're working on. And so I used to purchase those all the time. And then I quickly realized that my students were struggling every time we tried to do a graphic organizer, because first they had to figure out, wow, this looks different from all the other graphic organizers that we've ever used. Now I have to figure out what I'm supposed to put on here, in addition to coming up with the text that I need. And so, I realized, wow, that's really making them do 2 times the work here. So keeping your graphic organizers consistent is very important. And there are a lot of online options. I have some listed, I think, on another slide for you. But just kind of keeping that in mind, that whatever you present, you want to make sure that the format that they're using is consistent so that they're not having to learn that in addition to their concepts. Snap and Read, Clicker, and Boardmaker all provide graphic organizers as well within their programs. And then having those visual supports and cues. I'm a big fan of bringing attention to things in fun and exciting ways. So even just pointing, here are the things that you need. Teachers are so good about posting information and cues. And, even if you have a routine in your home, hey, this is what we do at bedtime. This is how things are supposed to go. These are the steps that we follow. Even just having some kind of visual cue like those to point, this is where we are, here's where we need to be, really can make a difference. And then for those conventional writers, these are the kiddos, they know what a sentence is. Maybe they struggle with, oh gosh, if I have to write a whole paragraph or a 5-paragraph essay, figuring out how to sequence those ideas, how to build in, oh my gosh, I have to cite evidence. How do I turn those into sentences? So docs, Word, and Pages obviously are great for word processing. And then here's the list of graphic organizers that I gave you the option of. MindMeister now only offers 3 free available ones, but all these others are typically free. Storyboard, that was another great one that now, unfortunately, they charge per month, I believe. Snap and Read and Clicker have those things. And again, Clicker and Snap and Read are both available for all SSD students and staff members. MindMups, just kind of getting some ideas down. We have MindMup and MindMeister are both available. These, I will tell you, take a little bit of, if kids are not very good at abstract concepts, they kind of, have a very flowy setup as far as how they enter their information. And so again, it's something that you need to weigh. Is this really something that's going to be helpful, or is it going to be harder for them to understand the tool than to actually get their ideas down? Grammarly is a great extension that can be added to do spelling grammar check. Most word processing programs now have built-in grammar check. Grammarly kind of takes a little step higher and kind of prompts the students, hey, this is how you could say this, or here's a suggestion of another way to write those words. And it also highlights the spelling errors and grammar errors as well. And it gives you feedback. I like getting my feedback. It tells me that I've done an excellent job of writing, and I've learned so many new words. And so that makes me happy. So a little added motivation to use that one. Word prediction is something that we are familiar now with our texting on our phones. As soon as we start typing with our thumbs, words pop up that says, oh, do you want to write this word? And we say yes or no. This is now available for computer programs as well. One that we offer for all students and staff is CoWriter. And so, like I said, all students can access this, and I will show you in just a minute what that looks like. We also have Clicker and Read and Write for Google, are programs that we recommend for some of our students. So CoWriter was created by Text Help, and it gives you those words and phrases. The nice thing about it is, as students start writing, maybe they have a favorite pet or a favorite activity that they like to do, friends that they like to talk about, it will automatically start predicting those words for them. It predicts appropriate grammar also. As soon as they put a period, it automatically capitalizes the next letter of that sentence for them. And again, I have some links to the training and some videos for each of the features that you can change for those. As I said, Clicker Writer, there's the big Clicker program, which covers anything from matching vocabulary to like stating 3 facts to you can create books at their own level. It has graphic organizers, but then it also has these writing tools. And so Clicker Writer is made up of 3 parts. It's Clicker Sentences, Connect, and Word Banks. And so, as I said, I really like this program just because as students make progress in their writing, they don't have to learn a completely new program. You can just kind of peel away the layers of support within this program so that they can still be successful. So many times teachers will download the full program and do some activities maybe on the smartboard, and then the students will follow up and use Clicker Writer either on their iPad, their Chromebook, or their laptop to be able to write about what they've learned. And again, I've included the link on here for you to get more information and how the tools work. But here's an example of a Clicker sentence. set. And so the students, this one has a model. You can have a model that stays and the student just has to click the sentences to make that same sentence. You can also have it where there's a model and then it disappears as soon as they start clicking on the word bank. You can also have it just say the sentence out loud, or you can have no model at all. So that's one of the options. The words on the sentence set can also be in sentence order. They can be in random order. They can be in ABC order. Or you can also have it set up if someone is just learning the idea of a sentence, they call it guided order, where they have to click this word, then the next one. So this is the sentence set. This is the next level up. So this is a connect set. You can have different options built in through, this one just has word, word, and 2 choices. You could have lots of subject choices. You could have lots of verb choices, and you can make them any way that you want. As I'm transitioning students from sentence sets to connect sets, I typically like to start with just giving them a choice at the end of the sentence to complete it. As they're clicking it, if they hold over it or they touch that blue button, they can have that box read to them. Again, you can put picture supports on here as well. They have their delete and return keys on here. So this is their text. This is their doc up here, and they can save their doc, they can print it, they can share it back to Google Drive. So all the things that they would typically do with other writing assignments. And then this one is a word bank. So again, just provides, they can use that, especially for students that struggle with spelling. This is a great option for them. The words can all be there. Teachers can literally copy an entire book of text if they want, and they can dump it in here and it will create a word bank. You can do an ABC word bank. You can have different categories. So you can have your subjects, your verbs, and your adjectives. You could set that up any way that you want. So the student has access to all the words that they would need to write a story or complete whatever activity you have in mind. All right, moving on to math. You could probably make millions if you came up with great math activities. This is one of those areas, I think things kind of really took off with literacy, but we really struggle, especially finding free things that are available or things that don't require an in-app purchase or a monthly fee. So we kind of struggle with that. And again, so I'm constantly updating websites and things that are helpful. I will say for most students though, having manipulative, some kind of hands-on thing that they can work and to introduce new concepts, to introduce new skills would be very helpful. We have many math materials that can be checked out from the IRC. So that's a great place to look. Actually, we have materials for all academic areas, but math is definitely one of those where you really need the stuff to be successful. Some of the new switch access tools that we have, some students may not be able to access materials in the same way. And so for students that use switches, there we have a measuring cup, so they can participate in cooking activities, or even they could, water plants or do whatever tasks they need to do. They could talk about filling the cup, 1 full cup, a half cup, a fourth of cup, using that switch activated tool. So lots of different ways we can do that. There is a math learning center that I linked on here. There's also a great site called Accessible Chef that has a ton of cooking activities. So if your child is very into cooking or you want to try some different activities at home, it breaks down the recipes, has some picture supports as well for those recipes. And again, just to kind of get them that idea of, oh, a half of a teaspoon, or, like I said, a full cup or a half a cup. All those skills are built in, and it's a very fun website. It gives you lots of good food to try. We also on our website have a list of websites for elementary, middle, and high school students with some descriptions. So I'll take you to that quickly. Again, we kind of break it down and try to, describe exactly what types of activities you would find on each of those. And then at the very bottom, this is Call Scotland from the University of Edinburgh, provided this for different apps that can be used for students with dyscalculia. lots of recommendations. Again, kind of check some of these. As I said, technology is always changing. Apple also did kind of at the end of last school year decided that, hey, everybody needs to update their privacy policies, and they also need to update their apps within a certain period of time. And if they did not, they were dropped from the web store. And so just kind of making sure that those apps are still available, but it's a great resource as far as finding some apps for a specific area of need. All right. There are many iOS apps that we recommend for students, and many of them focus just on one skill. And so again, trying to find those things that will work on multiple areas can sometimes be a challenge, but check out those websites that I shared. CoWrite Math is, and this parent took our advice. She was frustrated that her son was really struggling with getting, he had difficulty with fine motor skills. And so CoWrite Math, she created herself, and it provides an on-screen interface. Students can type in their numbers or things. The beautiful thing about CoWrite, which we could not find in other programs, was that you can list problems vertically. So for kids that had to do, borrowing and subtraction, well, you know what, when you have to write that straight across, that doesn't work very well. And students need to see, especially with place value and things like that. On this program, you are able to do that. This is something that we recommend for students through assistive technology. And it's something brand new, just in the last school year that we have been recommending it. And they're constantly updating it to make it better and easier for the students to interface with it. So that's been a great addition. Equatio is another program available. Again, this is one where the number sentences have to be written across, which is very challenging for a lot of our students. However, this is great for students that are taking algebra. It does do a lot of graphing. There is a whiteboard option within it as well. And so students that need to do things with graphs, it's very easy to manipulate within Equatio. So that's another option for students as well. All right. I have included in the presentation a list of accommodations or accessibility features for iPads, and then also for Chromebooks. So I just wanted to share those with you. There are a lot of great things, or a lot of great tools that are already built into the iPads and the Chromebooks. And so I wanted to make sure that you had access to those. Please feel free, if you have any questions about any of the materials that you're seeing, or resources that you're going to check through later in the weeks to come, please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. We certainly want to help. And we have assistive technology specialists assigned to specific districts all over the county. And so we're here to help you and your students. I've also included some keyboarding sites. Unfortunately, this is something that many school districts are no longer doing in classrooms. And however, the students all have access to technology. And so really just working on those basic typing skills. I see a lot of 1-finger and 2-finger typers. You can tell the kids that are texters how they're accessing that keyboard. But these are all free. And so I just want to give you, so this first page has typing lessons, ones that provide typing lessons. And the second page are websites that have typing games. So again, some reinforcing fun ways to work on those keyboarding skills. And unfortunately, there is not one great magical tool or accommodation that's going to work for all students. We have tools that we love and we're like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And we can get out there. And for some students, it just doesn't work for them. So, we always need to focus on what exactly are the features that the student needs. And we want to make sure that we're matching what we're providing with those features. Maximizing their strengths and minimizing their weaknesses. This is something that's very important. What are they good at? That's where we need to start. And okay, this tool, if you have these skills, you're going to be great with using this tool, and really focus on that. Because again, you don't want to give them something that's really hard to do something that's really hard. We're trying to make their lives a little easier and to give them some success with the skills that they need. And so we want to honor that. Sally Shaywitz, I have taken quotes from her on this page a couple times. She has written the book Overcoming Dyslexia. And so there were some Lindbergh School District parents actually did a book study on this book. And so I thought those were very powerful quotes, though. Her other one was, one of the most important accommodations is time. And that is so true, and that we need to give the students the time to learn the tools. Giving it to them once or twice and then saying, oh, no, that didn't work. Like I said, we look for a 6 to 8 week time period. And I realize that people don't want to waste time with something that may not work, but sometimes we've got to give our kids that grace to be able to learn the tool and really figure out how they can apply it, how it's going to help them, and really get that buy-in. And then they can be very, very successful. Giving them the tools does not take the place of good instruction. And this is very important to keep in mind. I've had several meetings with parents or even with teachers that said, oh, I don't want to give them a crutch. I don't want them to avoid having to do these things. That is not the case at all. These are things that are going to help them complete their task with knowledge that they have. And we want to honor what they know and what they're able to show us. But they still need to receive that instruction. So just because we provide a text-to-speech tool does not mean we no longer teach them how to read. This is just so that they can keep up with the pace of their class, so that they can work on those comprehension skills, and man, they're going to be able to be successful in those classrooms and on those IEP goals. And then making sure the goal of each task is identified. This is really important. If you are just working on their decoding skills, and you're having them read some sentences, and then all of a sudden you throw some WH questions in there and say, oh yeah, that didn't go well. Well, if the focus was the decoding, then that's where your attention needs to be. And that's where we need to say, hey, this was about the decoding. Same thing with comprehension. If you're working on comprehension skills, then we're not going to take off for missing capital letters or missing periods at the end of the sentence. We want to know if they understood what the story was about. So making sure that the goal of that task is identified. All right. And you can provide the most amazing tool or accommodation, but if a student isn't willing to use it, then it is not appropriate. And that is really hard for us to understand, especially when you spend the time and you're like, wow, I found these great tools. This is going to be it. Or I've had situations too where, they're like, okay, here's a list of all the things that I want my student to have. And the student gets overwhelmed by all the new things and then says, nope, I'm not using any of it. So we really need to keep that in mind. Present things one at a time, give them that time to learn. And then, you know what, if they're not feeling it, then we need to find something else. That's my job, is to make sure that I can find something that the student feels is really going to help them and get that buy-in from them so that they can be successful. All right. I also wanted to show you, before we ask for questions here, our website. And we have district-wide tools, we have AT tool trainings, again, Board Maker, Clicker, we have Choose It Maker that is available in some classrooms, and then CoWriter and Snap and Read. Those things are available to most, as I said, Clicker and CoWriter and Snap and Read are universal subscriptions that we have for all students. And so we want to make sure people have that information, they know how to use it, they know how to use those options. And so we want people to access these things. Here's some information about our assistive technology consult process. And then in our more section here, we have a whole list of different resources and things that we provide. I also provide a literacy for complex learners training that I do, and we have a website with tons of resources there as well. So you can look by content area, as well as just some, we do a lot of things with social skills as well, which I did not mention today. Literally, we could probably have like a 6-day training and still not cover everything that we do. But I at least wanted to give you kind of here's what we have, here's where you can start. And please let me know if you have any questions. All right. Do we have any questions?
It does not appear that there are any questions in the chat. I really appreciate your time, Kim, that was a wonderful, rich presentation. I think people really were given a much better idea of what is available to our families. Families, if you have any questions going forward, please feel free to reach out. This is a webinar, and when we are done with this webinar, you will hopefully receive a 5-question survey we'd love for you to fill out. And please go to our website, www.ssdmo.org/face. We have a lot of upcoming workshops and webinars that are wonderful, just like this one. We'd love for you to check out what's happening next semester. And feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions or comments. So thank you so much for your time, Kim. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.